December 16th is the next ban announcement from Wizards of the Coast. And is the One Ring about to be banned? Well, a lot of players think that that's exactly what's going to happen. Is the One Ring finally going to get banned in Modern? Are players selling with that expectation? Are they getting ahead of the curve to try to recoup as much money as they can before the banning comes in? Or is this card going to be left alone for the future? Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here. Thank you again for hanging out with me on my channel today. There's a lot going on when it comes to the One Ring and the idea that it's finally going to get banned. A lot of players are asking the question, and a lot of players have already decided. Now, what I mean by that is the sales for this card since middle of October have been climbing steadily. It escaped the last ban announcement, but there's still that expectation that it's going to get banned because it's still on Wizards of the Coast's radar. It leaves some fluctuation in the market. It leaves players in the finance world with a little bit of uncertainty and makes them think it's time to get out. Well, before you go and sell your copy, before you get rid of any excess One Ring copies you have, let's take a look at the actual card. Let's not forget that if it's going to get banned, it's probably only going to get banned in Modern. The card's out of print. Wizards of the Coast has moved most of their inventory. But this card has been the poster child for making money for Wizards of the Coast. The Post Malone One Ring 1 of 1 is a symbol of that collectability, of that versatility, and the amazingness that can happen with a single Magic card. Does Wizards of the Coast really want to tarnish that? Are they looking in that direction saying, is this a card we can afford to do this to? Or should we leave it alone and maybe power creep a few cards in there that can better deal with the One Ring and make it a more muted point for the future? There's a lot to discuss, a lot to think about when you're looking at a card like the One Ring. Now, let's take a look at what's been going on in the market. When you look at this card, the One Ring from Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth, like I said, middle of October, it evaded that first banning, and you can see it's just been going down in price, kind of leveling out right now. It's still losing $6-7 a month. This thing at one point was like $120 to $150, and now we're at $65.42 on average for the version that I'm sharing with you. Now, if we took a look at this exact same copy in the secondary market, and I started showing you pages and pages of sales, that's exactly what's happening. A lot of players are panic selling and getting out of the market, and that's, of course, with the expectation that it's going to get banned. Now, it doesn't mean they didn't keep any copies, but maybe they had 8. Maybe they only wanted to keep 2 or 3. Maybe they only had 1 and they're afraid of losing what little value they have and they want to get out while they can. Get out while the getting's good. Now, when you look at this, though, and you start thinking about Wizards of the Coast, this is all speculation. We don't know what they've got on the back burner. So no matter what I tell you today, whatever my opinion may be about this card, ultimately players are just going to take the information I've given you, the sales listings, the data, and they all point in the direction that everyone believes it's going to get banned. Now, if it's going to be banned, it's only going to be banned in Modern. They're not going to worry about it in Commander as a one-of. They're not going to worry about Vintage and Legacy because they hardly acknowledge its existence anymore. They're going to worry about Modern right now and say, how good or bad is this for Modern? What are we going to do to deal with this card for the future? How much value do we get out of a reprint version of this card? A more generic version, because we maybe can't print the exact One Ring depending on how licensing rights were distributed from Wizards of the Coast and, of course, the Tolkien Empire. But at the same time, they probably can come off with a generic version. So they could reprint this in later reprint series in premium deck construction and in premium products. Whether they put it into a Commander deck, some premium ultimate version from a secret layer, some kind of special Lord of the Rings set later on, it leads you to believe that it'd be pretty detrimental, in my opinion, to just outright ban it in any of the formats. Having it sink this much in value is not great for the company when you've got something like Post Malone behind buying the One Ring. The fact that it showed up in such a high publicity thing to sink one of the big money makers that you know guaranteed success for the future if you go back to Lord of the Rings, if you go back to some new secondary market version of this set. This is something I think the company's probably been deliberating for a while and wondering exactly what the implications would be if they did ban it. because now that they've gotten most of their money out of the product, everything's probably off the shelves at their distribution centers and it's just sitting on random store shelves at LGS's. They're kind of like, well, we've gotten our money out. What do we care now? We can move on to the next big thing. And as a big company, that might be something that the marketing team wants to do. That's something that R&D would probably want to do. But the big wigs there realize, and they're looking at the actuarials of the secondary market and saying, this card right now at $64 and still falling. If we don't ban it, it's going right back up to the $80, $90 mark right away because it's escaped another banning. They're aware of this. But the problem is they've already made the decision. By the time we're talking about this, all those decisions have been made. Everything is in place. And they're just ready to either drop the hammer or give this card an execution of stay. They're like, no, we're not going to get rid of it again. We're going to throw the players for a loop. And then players may be scrambling to get this card back into their deck construction. They may be scrambling to buy copies in the secondary market as it starts to rebound. So if you're a player who needs one, I hope you already bought it. I hope you already bought cards like Mana Crypt that have been down to the $50, $60 level. I hope you guys have gotten those cards because if the tiers come around and the new brackets come and we see a whole distribution that is different than what the players expected and a lot of these cards do get unbanned for whatever reason, that's another whole big problem to deal with later. But if you deal with it now in the sense you buy the cards while they're cheap and under the umbrella of the possibility of bannings or that they're already banned, and you're hoping they get unbanned, you can still save a lot of money, still play with the card casually. You just can't play it in any format where players really care about those rules. I'll be very interested to see how this plays out. The 16th is only a couple of days away. We're going to see it the following Monday. And right before the holiday season means players may be chomping at the bit to buy some of these cards because the sales, as I showed you, all these players are selling. They're panicking into the market to ditch the card. There's thousands of people selling it. There are hundreds of people buying it versus the thousands selling, which is forcing the price lower and lower. Now, if you're a player who's hoping that this card goes even lower, you just got to wait another 5 or 6 days. Let the panic build within players. If you're one of those people out there who wants to take advantage of that fear and buy in that market with the understanding you could lose it all, you could lose the whole kit and caboodle if it gets banned, maybe you just want to own one copy for your own personal collection. Wait the 5, 6 days. This card's going lower and it's not going to stop right now. There's too many going onto the market and not enough people buying up the market, which of course is too much supply, not enough demand with the fear of a banning. And that means there's going to be a lot of money that's going to be lost either way. People selling or people buying, somebody's going to lose and somebody's going to win. I'll be curious. I am curious because as a person who only owns one copy of the One Ring, but I don't own a Mana Crypt, I don't have a Dockside Extortionist. These are cards I've been thinking about buying, and maybe I've already purchased a couple just to make sure I have a little bit of inventory for these cards in case I get to unban them later and use them inside of some more rule regimented pod groups. Guys, it's a casual format for Commander. Modern is a very regulated format with a lot of high power action. It depends on where you're shopping and what you plan on doing with the cards, but there's a lot of value being lost right now in this card, and there's a lot of people who are just dumping it out. That fear is real right now. It happens every time in the MTG finance world. I've been looking at this stuff for years, and you can almost predict it. Anyway, beside the point, doesn't matter. We're past that. Guys, if you want the card, just wait 5 days, buy it. It's going to be about 10% lower than what it is right now. It may drop into the 50s range. Great time to pick it up just before the banning, just before the hammer either falls or the executioner stays his axe, okay? That'll be the moment. Now, if you were asking me my personal opinion, do I think it will get banned or not? I would bet about 70% that it won't get banned. 30% that it would. They may be moving on in Modern to something else, which means, yeah, they could ban it if they have some other stuff coming in, and knowing it can still be played in Commander and stuff, which they consider a bigger format, even if it's unofficial, means it's still going to have value, but it'll creep up longer periods of time. It won't come up right away. It'll take a very long period of time, which means it's still a reprintable card, right? You know what? I'm going to go 60-40. 60% not going to ban it. 40% they're going to ban it. Because you're right. In my mind, I'm playing it out right now saying, if they ban this card right now, it isn't losing all its value. It's just losing some. Because Modern, you can have a lot more copies of it, which means a lot will get dumped onto the market still, even more so than what we see now, which will force the price lower for now as people slowly absorb it. Yeah, 60-40. You guys let me know, though. Drop some comments in the comment section, because the panic selling is real. I know some stores have already stopped taking copies. Okay, like they're not taking any even in trade. They're like, no, we got like 30 copies in stock. We're good right now. We don't need any more copies of the One Ring. We don't want to be stuck with a burned card if it gets banned. Stores feel the same way you guys do. Thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me on the channel. This is a weird one, man. It's the one card the one card that people are worried about. My precious. See you guys soon. Hey guys, a big shout out. Thanks a lot for being here. These are my patrons. These are my YouTube membership members. Without these patrons and members, we wouldn't be possible. It just wouldn't be happening. And without them, this is why I take that chance every day to say thank you to those people out there who support this channel each and every day. Guys, thanks again. I will see you tomorrow. Don't worry, we're going to hang out over the holidays. I hope you guys made the live stream. See you soon. Welcome back. You're here at the Ramble Jamble. Now, house has got dry air today, man. Unrelated, I realize that. So here we are at the end, and I gotta be honest. When you look at the One Ring, and I look at cards that are in the bracket system, the possibilities of other cards being banned or unbanned, this close to the holidays, I don't see Wizards doing anything radical right now. I see them sitting this one out personally. Like, part of me, as I did the video, I'm thinking, I'm humming and hawing and looking at all the possibilities, the draws and negatives. And since we don't have any idea, like we just have indications, we have hints that they drop once in a while, but that doesn't mean that it's going to happen. So that's why I find these kind of things so fascinating, to see what actually plays out and to see market reactions in the secondary market for these cards. I still see they're going to drop 10%. If it drops below $50, maybe I'll grab an extra copy, maybe one or two for the channel stuff, just in case if we have extra money in the kitty at the end. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think it could go that cheap and then rebound, but at the same time, it's the cost-benefit negative analysis. What do they get? What do they lose by doing it? Because if you think that they're willing to lose hundreds of millions of dollars of cards over the next 10 years by banning certain cards, it's not going to happen. They got to be able to play it out. They got to find a way to get some of these cards back in circulation, especially if they don't want to go beyond power creep. If this is their limit for now. If that's their limit, they won't ban it. If they're willing to go a little bit step further to either mute the card with a more powerful thing that can take care of it, and they're a multi-version card that will exile it from the game, or if they know that this is their limit and they just want more complementary cards around it that could help mute it out, make other cards jump up more powerful to make them a more viable option. There's lots of ways Wizards can play the game, man. Lots. They got different rule books for different days of the week. It's crazy. Thanks a lot for hanging out. Thanks for being here, guys. This has been the Ramble Jamble, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Ramble Jamble.